I'd like to welcome everybody to our fifth member spotlight at the OAO. And today I'm very pleased to welcome to this spotlight Dr. Josephine Pepe. Good morning, Josephine. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Now, Josephine, to kick off the interview, could you tell the rest of the membership, give us some background on where you practiced, when you graduated, that sort of stuff, so we can get to know you a little bit better?
Sure. I did my undergrad at Waterloo, and then I graduated in 1998 from the New England College of Optometry in Boston. And when I graduated, I worked at part-time at Byron Optometries, where I started in at Westmount Optometrists in London, and then I went full-time to Westmount Optometrists shortly after that, maybe about 6 to 9 months after that. And then was there for 14 years before I left to go open up my own practice.
So the reason I wanted to have you on the member spotlight today was you have recently opened a brand new practice in a very, very unique environment, a very unique location. So I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about that. First of all, what type of location is it, and why did you choose such an interesting venue for an optometry office?
Sure. Well, the office that I have, it's actually an old church. It was a church I believe it was built in the 20s, and then in 1975 it was sold to a group of lawyers, and the lawyers had it until I purchased it. I decided to purchase the building instead of lease because I was open to doing either, but I was looking for space in the neighborhood that I lived in, which is Old North. And because it's a lot of older homes, it was hard to find enough space that had a long enough area for the practice, to have enough space on one floor, to not have to deal with stairs or elevators or anything like that. Because of the buildings are so old, it'd be very difficult to make it accessible. So trying to find something that was on one floor was a big concern. And I had looked at other spaces in other areas of the city, and when one space fell through that I was looking to lease, my cousin actually had pointed out this building that was quite close to where I live. And she said, "What about that old church?" And I had never noticed it because it was quite run down. There was shrubbery all around it. And we had gone to look at it. When I first looked at it, I didn't really see much potential. I have a hard time with that, but my brothers were with me, and they thought it was perfect. And it ended up costing much more than I expected, but it was well worth it.
Like any renovation, it takes you twice as long and costs twice as much.
Exactly.
So can you talk about some of the challenges? I imagine working with the City of London, rezoning, making it into a sort of retail / medical office. Did you have any challenges doing that?
Absolutely. It was already zoned for medical dental, so that wasn't an issue, but there wasn't enough parking for medical dental. And because it's so close to downtown, it actually now is considered part of downtown. They just expanded the downtown London parameters, and we are the last property that's included in downtown. So because of that, there was sort of this arbitrary line that was drawn in this block where we were part of the parking standards that were not part of downtown. So prior to me purchasing the building, I made sure that the owner had that changed. The previous owner had that changed because I couldn't run the business if we didn't have the parking that was allowed for medical dental. And so they changed it. It's a small parking lot. It only has 4 to 6 spots, but there's free parking on the street. So they did a parking survey to make sure that there was enough parking in the block surrounding, and they found that there was, and so they allowed the zoning to change. But it took 14 months for the zoning to go through, so it was quite a long process. It took a very long time. It was frustrating, to say the least, and constantly wondering if there were going to be any challenges.
Now, what about inside the church? So you've got your permit, you're about to start construction. What sort of issues, challenges, I guess, opportunities you had with the space planning, the design of your practice inside the church?
Well, that was a challenge as well. I did hire a designer, and they made a layout that ended up working. It's a very long, narrow building, and you'll see when we look at the pictures later, there's an altar at the end because it used to be a church. So, and that has a really nice rounded ceiling, and it was sort of a feature that I wanted people to be able to see. I didn't want to put exam rooms near the back like normally you would have a dispensary near the front of the building. But this was the most beautiful part of the building, and I wanted to accent that. So we had to try and make it welcoming and have people sort of flow to the back. So we made our waiting room at the back. We did everything sort of towards the back, and we put all of our exam rooms actually along the side. So that was a little bit different, and it took quite a bit of time and compromise to try and figure out a way to make it work. We also, with space planning, one of the things that I wanted was the room to be as narrow as possible without being uncomfortable, and I think we achieved that. We made them 8 foot wide and I believe 12 feet long. And it's plenty of room, and what we did was made sure that the countertops were narrow. They weren't super deep, so that gave us lots of room between the patient chair and the counter so that you're not squeezed in there.
So start to finish, from when you purchased the church, the rezoning changes, to final construction being finished, and when you opened, start to finish, how long did it take you?
We took possession of the building at the end of August 2012, and our opening date was February 18th, 2014. So it was quite a long process.
Wow.
And that's after we purchased the building. So for the rezoning and all that, that was started in May of 2013 that we actually put an offer in on the building conditional on that rezoning. So sorry, not 2013, pardon me, May of 2011, excuse me. So
Okay.
from May 2011, when we first decided this is the spot for us, for me, I say us because my family helped quite a bit, until February of 2014. So it was pretty much a three-year process.
Wow, you stuck to it. Good for you. So one last question before we jump into the pictures, because I'm sure people are anxious to look at the final product. Are you happy with the final product, and what are your patients saying?
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. Patients are wowed when they come in. We get a lot of people coming in who have been seeing the construction process go on, so people are curious and interested, so they pop in. All the couriers are always saying stuff, right, when they first come in. But yeah, no, they really like it. It's at nighttime it looks really nice as well because of the way we kept the cathedral windows, you'll see, and so that was really important to me. We pretty much gutted the building, and we did it the reason it took so long was because we did it step by step. So, my brother was a construction manager, and along the way he would say, well, we could get rid of the ceiling. It's going to cost you this much more, but then you could put new insulation. The old insulation's 50 years old, it's pretty much useless. You'll have a better building. And then you'll have a better building, right? So a lot of the time that it took had to do with, this is our one chance to make the building a good building to start with without tearing down the building. And we pretty much did that.
You made me think of one more question before we jump into the pictures. How old is the church? How old is the building?
I believe it was built in the 20s. Don't quote me on that, but it's hard to get an actual number. When we had the gentleman come to do the appraisal, he got 2 different numbers from the city. He got one in the 1910s, like 1915, and he got one in 1923 or 25, so he wasn't sure what was more accurate. So it's difficult to get actual numbers.
So 1915, that would put it 100 years old, or close to.
Close
Okay.
to, yeah.
Interesting. So I'm going to bring up some pictures here. We've got 5 or 6 pictures, and I'll get you to talk to them here. Let me just make sure we're on the right one. Now, can you see that from your side?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so go ahead.
This is the exterior of the building. As you can see, the arch doors made it very difficult to, I wanted to keep the sort of character of the building. We replaced all the windows with thermal windows. The old windows were leaded glass, but they weren't thermal. A lot of them were damaged, and it was going to cost more to repair the windows than it was to replace them. So we replaced the windows, made them thermal. We made them so that you couldn't open them. And so what we did was we kept the arch of the entryway. Because of that, we weren't able to make it an automated door, which is something I really wanted to do, but unfortunately that wasn't an option because we'd have to have structural changes to the building, and we weren't able to do that. So, that's the only thing. We do have a ramp. You can't see it off to the side here. We did put in a ramp. It's a heated ramp so that in the winter it's dry, which has been a nice feature for sure. The only thing is that we're not able to have the automated door, so we're still working on trying to get that to make it easier for people with barrier issues.
Okay. I think looks great from the outside. Now let's take a peek inside.
So
What are
this
we
is our
looking at here?
this is our front desk, and we had looked at different materials and that sort of thing, and we ended up with this. This is a super white granite and a walnut base there. And this is part of the dispensary there. All the cabinets there are custom made. My brother made those. He tried to figure out how to light them and all that. We spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how to light the cabinets. And then the two uh, display tables there are also custom made, and then the desk as well, for patients to order. And then those stairs there are new. We those were actually taken away. When it was a law office, it was very, very different. They had actually closed in, like you would never know it was a church when you walked in. It was normal hallways, offices everywhere, and then well, when we get to the next picture, I can explain it better what the difference is.
Okay. There we go. Beautiful.
So yeah, so where the two sunglass displays are on the side, those two arches, they had taken away the stairs that go up to the altar, the lawyers, and where that big arch was, that was actually all drywall. And so those two archways were doorways that you could walk up the stairs to go into their library, which was where the cathedral windows there were, where the altar is. When we first started demolition, that was one of the first things when I walked in and I saw that big archway. I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. We have to keep that. So that was part of the design process, and then we ended up putting the stairs back in to make it look like an altar again, to bring it back to sort of looking more like a church, and then we used the arches on the side to have our sunglass displays.
Very nice. No, great idea. So, I mean, I'm so glad. I'm sure your patients are that you kept that feature. Looks wonderful.
Thank you. And then this is a view from the altar out. So basically that goes towards the front door. And what we did, you'll see there, I don't know if you can see, but there's the beams all along the ceiling there. So that's the ceiling that we replaced. But those beams, further down, you'll see there were collar ties, I think they're called, which hold the building up. So we had to try and make it look a little better. My brother had said that if we didn't put something in there, you would see warpage and that sort of thing in the wood, which is very common, and same with drywall. So he said, you need something to break it up. And so that was something that he had recommended. So we put that in, and that helped quite a bit, I think. And we had to keep the collar ties for structural purposes, right? So
Yes. No, very nice. Very
thank
nice. So
you.
back to the front. I'll just close that down and we'll come back to our normal interview here. So Josephine, thank you so much for sharing your what I think is one of the most beautiful practices and unique practices that I've ever seen. So thank you for taking time today
Thank you so much. That's so nice. It's
to
my
to
pleasure.
share to share this with the entire membership.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.